Yeah. Quinn on the mic, I'ma lace it with truth. Phillip in the back, calling plays from the booth. Podcast vibes, broadcasting the word. Sharper than the two-edged sword. Every verse heard on my arm strap. Shield tight like a glove. Faith in my veins, powered by God's love. Ephesians 6:11, yeah, it's the drill. Put on the full armor, stand firm in His will. Armor up, we don't back down. Shield of faith when the world comes around. Sword in my hand, I'm ready to fight. Jesus is the captain leading through the night. Yeah, sports in the spirit, it's a game of endurance. Training in faith, no room for deterrence. Quinn and Phillip, tag team for the kingdom. Breaking down walls till the world can see them. Helmet of salvation, blocking the lies. Belt of truth, yeah, I'm suited to rise. Yeah, shoes fitted tight, spreading peace while I step. I run this race with Jesus, no regret. You feel the heat, that's the fire of the spirit. Voices in the dark, but I don't even hear it. Face my defense, prayer's my offense. Victory in Jesus, yeah, it's immense.
Welcome back to Armor Up Athletics. This is episode 11, fourth quarter faith. My name is Matt Quinn, joined as always by my co-host Phillip Leviner. What's up, Phillip?
Hey, Matt. What's going on, Armor Heads? How are you guys doing tonight?
Man, it's a great time to be with us. We've got a huge guest with us, a very special guest with us. This guy knows what pressure looks like. He's a former Florida Gators quarterback. He's played under the brightest lights in college football in the SEC. He's led comeback drives. He's broke records with 7 touchdown passes in one game and faced plenty of adversity along the way. Terry Dean, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, guys. Matt, Phillip, nice to join you guys.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on. Being a fellow Gator fan myself, watching you play back in the day, being in awe of the 7 touchdown passes, and then the fact that you got faith in that as well is super exciting to have you on tonight.
Well, I see all your Gator gear in your room there. You certainly representing tonight.
I could be one of the very few Gator fans in South Carolina. This is actually signed by Gus Scott,
no
defensive back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, big fan. Been a fan since actually 93. I went in the military and was stationed down there. And a buddy of mine, we were living in St. Pete, had tickets to a Florida game. And we went up in 93 and watched it. And I've been a fan ever since. So
That's funny. You remember which game?
It was, God, who were we playing? It was a FCS school. It wasn't a conference game. Matter of fact, Terry, to be honest, I wasn't living the best at the time. We left at halftime. And I went downtown Gainesville.
Yeah.
Now, I've been back a few times since then and can remember those games. I did see the 6 touchdown passes that Chris Leak threw against the Gamecocks down there.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So got some good memories in Gainesville.
Well, it's been a long time since we've had some good memories down there.
True. Hopefully they'll come back. Got a lot of talent down there right now. A lot of good talent.
There's a lot of talent. It's funny. I watched the team. We're loaded at receiver. Just abundance of studs there. This Dallas Wilson kid, the Vernell Brown kid. We're at Trey Wilson, Mizell. I like that whole crew. Running back, I think Jaden Ball is the best running back in the country. O-line has been, a little iffy, but obviously Slaughter. I think Barber's kind of had his struggles this year, but the line's been great. Defense is good. It's really disappointing to see what's happened there.
It is, because Napier was such a good coach. He was doing things the right way. He was really a player's coach, and unfortunately the wins just didn't translate on the field, and that's where we're at, right? That's the business, is you got to win, and hate that for him, but hopefully whoever they get in next can come in and put that talent to work, because Dallas Wilson's he's a big time player. He is.
I've met Napier several times. Absolute gentleman, solid Christian guy. I think he's got strengths and weaknesses. I think evaluating talent, recruiting, building team up, player buy-in. He's just not very good X's and O's play caller. And at the end of the day, it's a result-driven business, and they pay you $8 million a year. They want results. So
that's right.
That's just the nature of the beast. And fortunately for him and his family, they're going to be well taken care of for the rest of their lives. And There's worse things that can happen to you. So I feel for him. I've actually been praying for him and his family. And
Absolutely.
he's a quality guy. He'll land somewhere, some position coach, I would imagine, and he'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Matt, you want to take us into
Yeah,
to
well, I
what we're
mean,
doing?
I was gonna, kick it to you for the first few questions that we had
Okay.
listed. I mean, I knew the Gator talk was gonna come up with you, Philip. I knew it was gonna start. So that's kind of where, our first few questions that Philip had was some Gator talk. So I guess you can jump right into that, buddy.
He's a Gamecock, Terry, so it's okay.
Oh yeah, well, misery loves company here, I guess.
He's got the Gatorade though, so
I'm actually I'm actually a Commodore. Let's get it right.
that's right.
I
He
played
Well,
at
played at
Vanderbilt. I
Vanderbilt. He
played at
played at
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
tell you what, that's been a major story this year. That's impressive to see what they're doing.
Not a bad
Absolutely.
claim right now, Matt.
No, I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take it.
So Terry, we'll lead right in. Again, talking football. You led the Florida Gators during a really competitive era, kind of that first SEC championship games. What do you remember most about those days under Steve Spurrier?
Um, Good and bad. It was it was kind of the I can't remember the title of the book now, but it was the best of times and it was the worst of times, and um, it really shaped me as a Christian. It was a humbling time for me, tough time in a lot of ways, and yet some of the best times that I'll never forget. And Spurrier was tough to play for. Um, Truly was ahead of his time in college football, and so I learned a lot. I learned a lot about me, and I think I became the man I am because of the situations I went through at University of Florida. People ask me, if you had to do it again, would you go back to Florida? I was born in Alabama. I grew up an Auburn fan. Almost switched my commitment on the last night of recruiting season to Auburn. Pat Dye and Pat Sullivan came down to Naples and tried to get me to switch. And I tell people I wouldn't change. There's absolutely nothing I would change. Those experiences I had, the highs and the lows, that's what God took me through that, and I needed that as an immature believer and somebody that had misplaced priorities in my life at that time. That's what really changed me. And brought me back to my walk with Christ, and to where I met my wife. Um, my job now, I work in Naples, Florida, and the connections I have to the University of Florida were critical in the early days of my career that helped me tremendously. If I'd have been able to look into the future and see where I am now, even at the lowest times, I wouldn't have changed anything.
Man, that's amazing, and I can't imagine again. That era when it changed like that, where you went into those SEC championship games, Spurrier's coming in, and it brings me to my next question. The Swamp, I've been in it as a fan. It's super intense. What's it like handling pressure as a player and a quarterback in that environment inside the Swamp?
It's a pressure cooker. I mean, no doubt about it. I think it's the loudest place in the country to play. I was up in Tuscaloosa this weekend. My daughter's a senior up there, um, and that's a loud place. It just does not compare to the Swamp. The Swamp's built different. It's almost directly vertical right on top of
Yeah,
you. And like at Bryant Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, it's almost like the old high school. You have a track around the field, and so you have this big opening, and then it kind of is a slow rise up to the top of the stadium, where the Swamp is just right on you. And we were talking about some of the loudest memories ever have all been at the Swamp, although Rocky Top in Knoxville was up there too. But it's you don't ever forget it. I never will forget running out on the field for the first time. And they tell you, all the upperclassmen will tell you, when you're a freshman, wait until you run out, wait until you run out. And we did some scrimmages, and we had decent crowds there, 20,000, 25,000 people. And whatever. I didn't think much of it. And so that first game we played San Jose State, Spurrier's first game at the Swamp. He had removed the AstroTurf. He put in real grass field. So we were playing there for the first time. And I remember in the stadium, in the locker room, getting ready to come out on the field, and everybody lined up, and you could feel the ground shaking, and it just kind of got bigger and bigger. But we'd taken warm up, maybe 20,000 people at warm up, and I thought, yeah, what's the big deal? And so we go in, we get ready for game, and then you bust out on the field with about 2 minutes to go. And I remember running out that tunnel for the first time, and I couldn't feel my feet on the ground. It was like just running on air. And my roommate, my best friend, was right next to me. He and I ran out together. And I turned to him and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the coolest thing in the world. And he could not hear a word. I couldn't hear him. That's a memory I'll never forget. The hair still stands up on the back of my neck thinking about that.
That is amazing. I can't imagine. I really can't. Matt, you got anything there?
Yeah. So, Armor Up Athletics is about, Jesus and sports. And this week we're talking about fourth quarter faith. Your faith really shows, just like, as a quarterback, you're in the fourth quarter, you're in a pressure moment. How are you going to respond when the game or life isn't going according to plan? How do you stay centered in your faith?
Well, Matt, that's I still go around and talk to FCA groups, and I still share my testimony, and that time is what shaped my life. Just to walk you back a little bit, I sat behind, or I played behind Shane Matthews for 3 years. I was his backup for 3 years, and so my junior year, I finally got the opportunity to start. I was starting first game, and Danny Warfel was a freshman at the time. And anyway, it kind of a famous game, but in the Kentucky game, I threw 4 interceptions. I think Danny threw 3, but Danny threw the touchdown to Chris Doran at the end of the game. And so I was done. And, at that time, my whole life, I knew I was going to be an NFL quarterback. I was built for it. I knew I was the best quarterback on planet Earth. I just knew that's what I was supposed to do. And football became kind of my idol at that time. And it replaced my relationship, with God as the priority in my life. I grew up in a Christian household. My mom and dad are still alive. Just unbelievable. I thank God every day for my mom and dad, the influence they were in my life and pointing me to Jesus. And that's how I got saved, is through, the witness of my mom and dad, and how I've grown in my faith. My parents are just tremendous disciples for Christ and witnesses, and just so much inspiration from my mom and dad. But football had taken over. In high school, it's easy to do, and you're getting all the attention in the world, and everybody tells you how great you are, and you're getting recruited by everybody. And I go to Florida and finally get the chance to start, and I'm a big man on campus, and I'm on the cover of magazines, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was gone. It was just snatched right. The rug was pulled from under my feet, and I'm looking around going, what happened? Like everything that was important to me is gone overnight. And that was the time where I really leaned, I got back in the Bible, really got back in my prayer life. And that's really where I just kind of got right with Jesus, and just kind of committed that I wasn't going to ever let that happen again. If I got to play again, great. If I didn't matter. I wasn't going to let that happen again. And God had plans. I was able to come in at the end of my junior year and won the job back. We go up to Alabama, beat them. Then we beat West Virginia in the Sugar Bowl. And now I'm back on the cover of magazines, and I'm back on top of the world. But I was more grounded then. I knew God had given me that for a purpose, and that was to point people towards Him, and not to take credit myself. And then my senior year, we come out hot. We're number 1 team in the country. We're throwing touchdowns all over the place. I'm the leading Heisman Trophy candidate my senior year. And then something happened with Spurrier halfway through the year, and we were getting ready to play Auburn. And he said, look, if you play bad, I'm going to bench you. And so my world was wrecked. And I played bad. I threw 4 picks, and it was over. And I knew it was over at that time, but a totally different perspective. I knew that Jesus had a plan for me. that he was number one in my life. And I just, that just depression was gone. I wasn't worried about it. I wanted to continue to play football, but if I didn't, I was fine with that. I knew God had a plan for me. And I tell people, that Auburn game, I got benched in the third quarter sometime, and I tell people, who knows, maybe the next play I would have gotten hit and broke my neck and never walked again. I don't know what could have happened. I know God had a plan for me, and it wasn't to continue playing at that time. And so that was really the time where I learned, to put your relationship with Jesus first, and don't let idols get in the way of that.
I love that powerful message, and that goes straight into what I had as a follow-up question here. What Bible verse or spiritual truth carries you through those tough times?
Oh man, a ton of the whole Bible does. I committed a couple of years ago. Well, I committed a couple of years ago. I read my Bible. I try to read my Bible every day, and committed. I'm going to read my Bible, from start to finish, chronological order. I'm going to at least try to enunciate every name, and I'm not going to skip over stuff. And I go back and I read. I'm in Isaiah right now. I'm going back. I was reading Isaiah 53 today, ironically, and it amazes me how verses that I've read 20 times in my life, growing up in church, to little Sunday school as a little boy, to high school camps, to, how many times I've read this verse. But when I read a verse and I'm in a different phase of life, and how that verse completely is illuminated to me in a light that I've never thought about, or it has a total different meaning to me than when I read it a couple years earlier. And I draw such inspiration from that. And it's amazing going through Isaiah 53 right now, and the foretelling of the Messiah and what he's going to go through for us. And I just love the whole Word of God. I think it's so powerful. And you can find something in Genesis that's applicable today, and you can find something in Revelation that's applicable today. And it's my source of power. I think it's how I stay grounded. I know that everything I have is from God's hand, and it can all be gone tomorrow. But if it is, I'm fine with that. I've had that happen before in my life, and if it does, I'm going to run to God. He is my rock and my refuge, and He's my shield. And if I lose everything, I hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, I know I'm okay.
I love it. I love it. You can't. It's not a cop-out answer to say the whole Bible, because like you mentioned, there are so many things that we can apply to our lives. And just the other day, I was doing the same thing, reading through, and I'd read verses time and time again, but then you're going through something specific at that exact moment, and it hits you a different way. So I love the answer. Back to you, Phillip.
Well, just cut in real quick. When I was going through that, it was a tough time for my mom and dad, obviously. And my mom is a true Bible scholar, and she would always send me verses at that time about do not be afraid, trust in the Lord. And that was kind of my mantra at that time was do not be afraid. And I didn't know what was going on, but I knew God had a plan for me, and God was with me.
I guess one of the biggest things for me is being a leader like that, and that type of program. How would you kind of tell these kids these days how they could go out there and be in these types of programs and still be able to uphold their Christian faith and be a leader for God as well? Because obviously, even back then, the hype was huge around college football. It's always been huge. And there's a lot of temptation, a lot of, things going around. How do you think you could offer some advice to these kids to keep them grounded and keep them in their faith?
Yeah, it's tough today. It's a totally different world. The money involved, the transfer portal, the coach carousel. It's a different. I mean, it's minor league NFL football at this point. Coaches are making a ton of money. Players are making a ton of money. with that much fame and money, there's a lot of temptation, and it's a lot mostly bad. And so, I just believe you have to be grounded. You have to be in the Word of God every day. I don't, I'm very blessed. I was raised in a Christian household, and my mom and dad, um, just imparted that in me from an early age. And my dad was a successful business guy. And so, my dad taught me how to handle money, how to, the importance of being prudent with that and not getting caught up in that. And, but look, I did. I mean, I did get caught up in that, and it caused me to, to idolize that fame and what was going on. And it's an easy trap to fall into. Bible says Satan is roaming the earth to devour us, and money and power and fame are an easy way to do that. So I just think the Word of God is a shield, and putting on the whole armor, and you have to be religious about it. It has to be a daily habit if you're really going to protect yourself.
Yeah, and that's so true. And you just hit one of our marquee verse is Ephesians 6:11, for armor up athletics, which is put on the whole armor of God, which is something that I think Matt and I both have discussed thoroughly. Being half in and half out, again, being raised in the church, right? Mom and dad, like yourselves, are very good Christians. Growing up and then straying away. One of the biggest things for me, and this will lead into one of my last questions. I was always afraid that if you failed, that you couldn't come back, right? If you cussed, you were going to hell. If you drank, you were going to hell. And there was always that stigma growing up. But I think nowadays, when we put on that whole armor, what is the biggest thing for you? In we talk about fourth quarter faith, and we talked about failure, in faith. What do you do as far as picking yourself back up? Even then, you talked about experiencing, some setbacks in college, and we're always going to have those setbacks. So what would you offer some recommendations or some advice for, again, a lot of our viewers or athletes, for when they hit that moment and they fail in God and they don't think they have that pathway back?
Well, I love reading the Apostle Paul, and one of the things I loved is, where he says, I'm chief among sinners. And I would dispute it. I think I'm chief among sinners. I fall every day. And I tell you, it's football that gets me a lot of times. I get so competitive and fired up. I'm yelling at the TV. I'm cussing in front of my kids. And I'm like, what am I doing? It just brings out this rage in me. And I'm still so competitive about it today. And I hate that. I pray about it almost, I do daily. Like, I want to die to that competitiveness inside of me. I don't want to be that way anymore. And in a lot of ways, it made me who I am and where I'm at in life and my business. But at the same time, it brings out the worst in me too many times. And I hate it. I hate that I'm a poor witness to my kids in those times. I've got 4 kids. They're all adults. My oldest son works with me. My middle son is in Naples now, working in construction. Youngest son just finished grad. All 3 boys went to University of Florida. My daughter's a senior at Alabama, and I pray for their protection every day, and I pray that I'll be a witness to them, and that God will draw them to Him, and He will walk closely with them, and me. And I believe me, I get that. I live that. Just because you become a Christian and you decide to follow Jesus Christ, you're still human, and you're still gonna sin. I mean, it's gonna happen. I hate it when I do it, and I think. I mean, I hope I always hate that. I hope I always hate that. I cause that I do it myself, and I'm at a stage in life where I'm really concerned about our country and politically, and just the how quickly the culture is deteriorating, and what 10 years ago was disgusting to think is now becoming legal and commonplace. And talking about one of my favorite Bible verses, it's in Second Corinthians. I think it's Second Corinthians. Is if my people called by my name will humble themselves, seek my face, and pray, and repent of their wickedness, I will hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal this land. And that's my prayer. I pray that God will heal this land. But it's not the lost that causes the darkness. It's his people. That's who he's telling. You get right, and then I'll heal this land. And it starts with me. I pray every day that I will seek God's face, that I will humble myself, and that I will repent of my wickedness, because I'm a wicked person deep down. So we all are. That's human nature. Literally, it's what happened in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. We are bred with that evil in our heart. So you have to be close to God to fight that.
Man, that's powerful, Terry. You hit on a lot of nails that I deal with myself, and being competitive, and my kids play sports, and we were actually in Naples last December playing for the Gold Cup in soccer. We played at the Naples FC Stadium there.
Oh yeah, good place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful place.
Incredible facility.
Yeah, we had a good time. He got picked to come down there, and we played, and it's beautiful. Naples has always been a beautiful place, but you're right. I was watching. We were in Columbia this weekend playing, and I'm watching Florida Mississippi State play, and
Yep,
here we go.
yep.
I'm almost a year alcohol free, but I'm still throwing the remote.
Yep.
We're dependent on a defensive lineman to save the game. So.
That was crazy.
That was, man. And but yeah, that's really all I had question wise. I'm sure we could sit here and talk back and forth all day, but that's really all I had. It's great for me to sit here and obviously talk with you in person, but I'll kick it back to Matt for any final questions that he may have.
Yeah, thanks, Phillip.
Yeah, I got two final. One, more football related, and the last one will be the faith-based question. But, football related, and you talked about this a little bit before, but, could you elaborate on how football prepared you for life after the game?
Oh, that's easy. And that's why I'm passionate about football for young men to play, because of those life lessons. I'm very fortunate. I got to coach my kids. My kids all went to First Baptist Academy here in Naples, and I was on the coaching staff for 9 years. And we had just a wonderful Christian leader of men as a head coach and assistant coaches, and so blessed to have that part, of their lives with those men pouring into them and reading scripture to them every day. But beyond the spiritual benefits of football and playing, for the right kind of coach, I think football in general, I think men are built by God to be tough. I think it's who we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to protect our wives and our children, and football teaches you to be tough. How many times did I get hit so hard I'm on the ground thinking, oh my goodness, I cannot get up and do another play. And then you get to one knee and you get to the next knee and play comes in and all right, I can do one more. And yet, it makes you tough. And I think the other thing is you obviously deal with adversity, whether you lose your position to somebody else or you lose a game that you're not supposed to. You have to learn how to deal with adversity and pick yourself up. And I think, it's part of the problem with this culture today is not dealing with that reality that it's on you. It's not, nobody's going to hand you anything. You're not entitled to anything. I don't care if you're black, white, whatever. You're responsible for you, and you better be able to pick yourself up. And look, I went through a period of my life playing football at Florida where I lost the most important thing in the world to me at that time, which was the starting quarterback job at University of Florida. And God showed me very quickly, that's not even in the top 100 things of important things in my life. And that's important. But I do think football just teaches so many great lessons, and the right coach is so critical for that. And I think that's why coaches are such critical influences in young men's lives. And that's what I've always loved about Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I was involved with that organization my entire career. And when I was coaching, and I was chairman of the local chapter down here for 10 years when I moved back to town. And I just think that's so important for the right person to be directing those young men.
Absolutely. We love FCA. Phillip and I went to a Fields of Faith event here at Scotland High School. We saw over 30 kids give their life to Christ, and about 8 baptisms happened that night. It was an amazing time, and I think that's awesome. A great organization for people to be a part of, people to donate to, people to give back to, because they do so much good work for our athletes and our local communities. Last question, and as soon as we found out that Coach Metzger was going to come through and get you on our show, Phillip immediately sends me highlights of the game where you threw 7 touchdowns. Did you, in the moment, I mean, I've played in some big games and scored touchdowns here and there, never 7, but did it register as you're going through that, or was it you just so in the zone and Spurrier's calling it and we're just going?
Didn't you do that in just the first half too?
Yeah, it was the first half.
Yeah.
It's still an NCAA record, by the way.
It is.
Not only was that in the first half, Spurrier took me out and put in Eric Kresser. He threw another touchdown that half. So we actually threw 8 for our team that half. Matt, I don't know. It was a long time ago. It's funny what you remember, you don't remember. I don't know that I hardly remember that game. I don't remember very much of it. The game that I remember is when we beat Alabama for the SEC championship game. I remember so many moments of that game, and I remember we played West Virginia. West Virginia was undefeated at that time. If they beat us, they would have had a co-national championship, and they scored first to go up 7-0. I think we ended up beating them 42-7 or something like that. And I remember those games, and I don't remember so much personal plays as much as I do the feeling of winning the game and afterwards, and being with the team and my buddies, and seeing my family after the game. And that's what I remember more than individual plays. Somebody had that the other day where I saw those highlights from that game. I honestly remember throwing one of those touchdowns. I did not remember the other 6. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good throw. I did not remember that in my head. So it's funny what your brain chooses to focus on or not focus on.
That was crazy too, because 4 went to Jackson in that game.
Yeah.
And y'all had a stud team. You had Eric Rett, running back, Kevin Carter on defense, Aubrey Hill. Ike Hilliard was a freshman then.
Well, I had Riedel Anthony, Ike Hilliard, Chris Doring, Harrison Houston, Jason Odom at left tackle.
Yeah.
Played for the Bucks for a bunch of years. Defense was loaded. Lawrence Wright. Kevin Carter. We were nasty back then.
Yes, it was definitely an elite Florida Gator team.
It was. Sure. And it's funny. People always ask me who did you like to throw to? Well, I had Willie Jackson. Yep. Willie played 9 years in the NFL. Jack Jackson. Jack always got me in trouble because he would, every time he'd come back here, hey, I'm open, throw it to me. All right, fine, Jack, I'm gonna throw it to you. Well, you weren't open, you were covered. I got a pick, and now Spurrier's screaming at me. But I was a little bit of a gunslinger. I was going to throw it deep, and I was going to trust Willie or Jack or Aubrey, whoever, to go get it. So that got me in a lot of trouble, but it made for some fun memories too.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned, what your brain. I tell our players all the time, from my playing days, the best memories were the bus rides and the pregame and coming out in the tunnel, the highlights and all that. They're fun, and you look back on them, but the relationships are really what you remember the most. And we preach that to our kids here in Scotland about playing for one another, and that's what playing for your community, playing for your family, just like you mentioned. So it's going to be good for those guys to hear somebody of your caliber say it, and not just me, who they see every single day.
Well, it's funny. I was fortunate even after losing my job at Florida. I played in Canada for a season. I played in the World League for a season. I was in a camp with the 49ers, and I was in the Arena League. My favorite football, my most fun football was high school football. I just, if I could, if you said, hey, you can have a body of a 20-year-old again and go do whatever you want to do, I'd rather play high school football than anything. That to me was the funnest of all the football.
I would agree with that for sure. We got one final question, and this is something that we tend to ask all of our guests. Armor Up Athletics is based on Ephesians 6:11. Put on the full armor of God and protect yourself against the devil. How do you armor up every day? What is your routine? Is there something you like to do to armor up every day to protect yourself?
Yeah, well, it's something that's evolved, and it's something I've learned that I need to get in the routine of doing. But I generally get up about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I do we'll call it a jog, but mostly a walk. But I try to use that as my quiet time, and I try to get in prayer, in conversation with God. And it's amazing. I'll start talking to God, and I'll pray for my kids, and I'll pray for protection, and I'll pray for wisdom. And all of a sudden, I'm praying for this situation. I'm praying for people I know, friends that I know. I'm asking God to put people in my life that day that I can be a bold witness to. I pray for boldness every day, and I fail at that most every day. But I use that time as a time to really just talk with the Lord. And so that's become a really great routine for me. I come home, and then I'll get ready, shower, get ready, get dressed. I usually go to McDonald's every morning for an iced tea, and then I'll try to read a couple chapters out of my Bible every day. And I've always, whether I'm with friends or new clients, whatever I'm doing, I always try to pray over meals. And I always try to ask people, what can I pray for you? Try to use that as a little bit of a witnessing thing. But I think being in God's word every day is so important. I know it is for me. I know if I miss a couple days, then I'm getting madder, and I'm losing, control over emotions and different things. And it really does matter. I truly believe that.
We certainly appreciate your time. You're sharing your Florida stories. I know that made Phillip happy, sharing your faith, sharing your passion. Thank you so much for taking some time with us tonight. We hope that this will impact somebody. When Phillip and I first started this, we wanted to reach at least one person. And, through God's word and through him, he's helped us reach a lot more than that. And we're proud of that, but not for us. But we do appreciate you stepping out and sharing your faith and sharing some of those war stories from the SEC glory days.
I'm happy to do it, Matt. And Phillip, thank you. Look, it's a small, simple thing to do, but I'm happy to share Jesus and what a difference he's made in my life. And I tend to think we're in Revelation times. I think you got to get right. You got to get right now. So however I can help, I'm happy to do it. I pray that God will use me that way, whatever I can do.
Well, again, to hit on Matt's point, obviously, first and foremost, thank you for coming on. We're very young in this podcast, and we're growing, and definitely you coming on is going to help that. But it's a very simple ministry for me, being where I was and the things that I went through. It's God never said get right and then come to church, right?
That's right.
He never said forget all you get your heart right and then come to me. So that's where we're at. We want to reach those people that people think are unreachable. We want to go to the places that where we were. It wasn't that long ago that I was sitting at the end of the bar and I was the drunk in the crowd, and I wasn't being the father that I needed to be and the husband that I needed to be. And God come back into my life with a vengeance and humbled me pretty hard.
That's awesome. Yep.
And
that'll happen.
Yeah. And all I want to do now is just, I know I have days where I don't feel like being that guy, but like you said, you hit it on the point. Just reading that Bible and again, hearing your story and again, obviously being a fan of you and seeing you play, and always I got a number 12 jersey, on the way now, and it's you were one of the first quarterbacks I saw play. You and Shane Matthews were. I talk about you guys all the time. Being an old Gator is what I call myself. So again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your faith and being that guy in the community and in the world. Can't thank you enough. And
thank you so much, Mr. Dean. We certainly appreciate it, and it's been awesome, man.
Thank you.
I got chills thinking about it, and I'll do this one time for Phillip and for you. Go Gators!
Very nice. Go Gators!
And we are back now for high school and college sports. But wow, what an interview with Mr. Terry Dean. Great message, great word, some football stories. I know that made you happy, Phillip. And I get chills thinking about what he just said, and we just got done with it. So I'm excited to get this out to all of you Armor heads. So let's jump straight into some sports here. We got a wrap up of week 7 high school. We had Hartsville-Darlington, that Darlington County rivalry. Hartsville took care of business, wins 45-24. We had Chesterfield and Buford. This was what we called a Rams turnaround with a few question marks, and they handled it. Rams are looking up. They win 45-13. Sherrall beats North Central 42-7. And then my game of the week was Marlboro County and Dillon, the Highway 9 rivalry. Dillon wins 20-6, and I didn't realize this. That was like the 12th or 13th year in a row. So congrats to Coach Roller and the Dillon Wildcats. That region is still up for grabs. And then the last one was your pick for game of the week, Andrew Jackson and Central. Andrew Jackson wins 21-20. Did you see the end of the game?
I did not get to see the ending of the game because we had to go to Columbia for soccer, but I did hear about it. I didn't see it.
First off, I'll forward you the video, but Central, about 30 seconds left in the game, Central is driving, and they complete a pass, and guy breaks it out on the side, and it looks like he's going to go 70, 60 yards for a touchdown. And Andrew Jackson's player comes in from behind and pops the ball out at the 1-yard line. Ball goes flying, fumbles. Andrew Jackson recovers, and that happened with like 20 seconds left in the game. A crazy, crazy ending there. Two really good football teams going literally down to the wire. I mean, you're talking about another 1 yard, and this game is going the other way. So
right.
I expect Central to bounce back from this. This game will not define their season. Andrew Jackson in the driver's seat for a region championship this year. Moving into college football, we had LSU and Vanderbilt. Both teams were 5-1. Vanderbilt was ranked 17. Vanderbilt's now ranked number 10. Vanderbilt wins 31-24. We had Georgia Tech and Duke. Georgia Tech wins 27-18. Ole Miss and Georgia. High scoring game. Was not expecting this many points, but I don't know why I wasn't with these offenses. Georgia wins 43-35. That was my pick for game of the week. Was a wild game to watch. And then Tennessee and Alabama was your pick for game of the week. And Alabama wins 37-20. The last one that we had on the list was 20 USC and Notre Dame. Notre Dame wins 34-24. Crazy, crazy weekend. We had some really good matchups in college football last weekend, Phillip.
It was a good weekend of football. The Sherrall North Central game was 7-0 going into the fourth quarter, or it ended up 42-7. So crazy game there. 2 scooping scores by Anthony Strong, and then of course my Gators pulled out a tight, crazy win. But Alabama did Alabama things, So what do you do? And our coach gets fired over the weekend. So
that's what I was giving you a cut.
He's gone. So
I will say that if anyone wants to fire me and pay me that amount of money to go home, I will gladly be at your service.
I did tell my kids if they want to ever make a great living and not have to do well, just go get a big contract and then just lose a bunch of football games.
and then go play golf every day.
Yeah. Then you get $10 million to go away.
Yeah. Fine. Moving into week 8, high school matchups, some big matchups, not locally, but some across the state here. We've got Dorman and Gaffney in the upstate. Both teams are sitting at 6-2. This is a region rivalry up there in the upstate. Dorman and Gaffney. Expect some fireworks there. Expect some crazy stuff to happen there. More local matchup, we have Loris and Marlboro County. This is actually the TV game of the week. Marlboro County looking to bounce back from that Dillon loss. Loris is rolling and in the driver's seat to win that region, but Marlboro County might have something to say about that this week. St. James and North Myrtle Beach. You got a region matchup down there at the beach. Another upstate matchup, Spartanburg and Burns. Both teams sitting at 5-3. Historically, Phillip, these teams are not 5-3. These teams, if you saw Spartanburg or Burns with 3 losses, you'd have thought, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Well, really, they're playing some really top-notch opponents. They're playing what I used to call the SEC of high school football up there. I mean, they're going to beat up on each other. You got Dorman, Gaffney, Spartanburg, Burns, all playing each other. And so this is a huge matchup for them, to playoff seeding, region implications, all that good stuff. And then the last one is a Conway-Socastee region matchup there in the Beach region. What are you thinking, Phillip?
You know what? I have not yet picked the Cross the River team yet. I want to see how Marlboro responds from the Dillon game. And obviously, I want to see if Loris can keep it rolling. They've kind of stayed away from those 2 teams this year. I think I'm going to go Loris Marlboro County this week.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Loris is loaded.
Yes, they are.
Marlboro County might bounce back and pull an upset, and then you're going to talk about some crazy scenarios in that region. If that happens, then we're going to have tiebreakers and all kind of scenarios going on. It's going to be wild. It'd be fun to see because I'm not involved in it, so I'm good with it. I'm gonna go with the Dorman Gaffney matchup. Both teams sitting at 6-2, a big region rivalry. I got to show some more upstate love to my people up there. So that's going to be my pick. And in college football, week 8, we have 5 matchups here. Ole Miss, now number 8 in the country, playing number 13, Oklahoma. Both teams sitting at 6-1 there, Phillip. We have 15, Missouri, and 10, Vanderbilt. Both teams 6-1. This is actually where College game day is going to be this weekend. Texas A&M is number 3, playing number 20, LSU. A&M is 7-0, LSU 5-2. Then you have an 18 South Florida team playing Memphis. Memphis is 6-1, just dropped a game to UAB under an interim coach. Wild story there, but every time teams get an interim coach or like a backup quarterback thrust into the position, like it's something crazy about it. That first game, they just go ballistic, and so Memphis took one on the chin to UAB, but that is a good matchup, a sneaky good matchup, I think, there. And then you have Houston and number 24, Arizona State. Houston sitting at 6-1, Arizona State at 5-2. What are you leaning toward? What you thinking?
Oh man, those are all intriguing for different reasons. I like the Vandy game a little bit, but what's got me the most intrigued? A&M's undefeated. LSU just took a loss. I believe this might be the week A&M takes one. I'm gonna go A&M LSU.
Upset alert, huh? Upset alert. You heard it.
It's like you just said. I mean, everybody's on the hot seat in the SEC when you lose a couple games.
Yeah.
So can Brian Kelly, do something crazy right here?
Yeah. Man, I've debated and fought on this decision all day since we made this list of what we were going to talk about. But I got to do it. Anchor down, go Doors, Missouri, Vanderbilt.
I left that one for you. I really, because I like that. Now, the South Florida's got me intrigued too, because obviously when South Florida beat Florida early in the year, I'm like, oh my God, we lost to South Florida. They're terrible. Obviously, they are not terrible. They're a really good football game. They may end up in the playoffs if this continues. So we'll see how that goes. But Vandy, that's not, to me, that's not just a great story. they are really a good football team. I mean, Pavia has those boys. It's unreal what they're doing right now. So definitely going to be watching that one. But yeah, 2 good games. I like them.
I love it, man. I love it. Wrap up there. Dorman Gaffney, Lawrence versus Marlboro County, Missouri versus Vanderbilt, and Texas A&M versus LSU this week. Phillip, we had a great interview with a Florida Gator legend. We got to talk some football. We got to talk a little bit about fourth quarter faith, about armor up. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Man, it's been a beautiful, beautiful show once again. Obviously, being a Florida Gator fan, it was a double whammy for me to get him on here. But just the things he had to say about his Christian walk, and just hearing how he lost his starting job, and it reset everything for him. It reset his faith. It reset everything. So, that helps me resonate that on that level where he could have gave up. He could have went in every different direction, but he chose to buckle down, get God first, and was able to get a starting job back. So unreal. I do want to, I know we said we were going to do verses, but this one just seems fitting. I do want to kind of read Hebrews 11:1, since we're talking about faith. It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That is the fact. That is the basis of Christianity. That is what we do every day. You have to walk out the door, and when things seem the gloomiest, you got to have faith, guys. So, yeah, man.
I love it. Fourth quarter faith, episode 11. Got to give a shout out to Fourth in Faith podcast, my buddy Coach Woolcock up there. Kind of similar topics here. His title is Fourth in Faith. Go check it out if you haven't. He does some great things on his podcast. But remember, guys, it's easy to have faith in the first quarter when things are going easy, when everything's going right. Real faith shows up in the fourth quarter when the pressure's high and the outcome's unknown. So finish strong. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Until next time, guys, stay ready, stay faithful, and keep your armor on.
I love it, man. I love it. Another great show. Another great, just another great, enthusiasm. Again, you get those moments where everything's kind of so busy, and we get this moment to sit down and really get in our faith, and it just revives me. And it's good stuff, man. I love it.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you, Phillip. It was fun as always. Until next time, Armorheads, we appreciate you. We love you. Go Jesus. Go Gators.
This week, we'll let you in this week.
Have a good week, Phillip.
All right, you too, buddy.
Love Ephesians 6:11, yeah, it's the drill. Put on the full armor, stand firm in his will. Armor up, we don't back down. Shield of faith when the world comes around. Sword in my hand, I'm ready to fight. Jesus is the captain leading through the night. Yeah, sports in the spirit, it's a game of endurance. Training in faith, no room for deterrence. Quinn and Phillip, tag team for the kingdom. Breaking down walls till the world can see them. Helmet of salvation, blocking the lies. Built the truth, yeah, I'm suited to rise. Yeah,